Good evening, everyone. This is a meeting of the Finance Committee. Being 7 o'clock, do I have a motion to open?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good evening. This is Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025. Let's stand up, say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Proudly.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, welcome back, folks. It's been a while since we've done this, and welcome back. I'd like to say a big welcome back to our 47th president. It's been a long time coming, but I think it's something the country needs, and I think it's going to be a good thing. So, just wanted to get that out there. I know the town of Acushnet was a big supporter, and should be good going forward, and hopefully we see some changes in this state too, at the top, because things can't continue to run the way they have been. So with that being said, we're going to take care of a reserve fund transfer tonight from our fire chief, Tom Farland. Chief.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Evening.
So basically, this is a reserve fund transfer request of all things, vehicle repair. Stop me if you've heard this before. Our fleet is aging. It's getting more expensive to find parts and fix. The problems just seem to stick to me like a magnet. So I'm already about $25,000 over the budgeted amount due to various repairs that have been needed on the engines. And the selectmen approved the replacement of the engine in Rescue 2 to the tune of about $20,000 and change. I'm looking for $60,000 to cover the overage, fix the engine in the second ambulance, and provide a cushion to last through the end of June.
What's
You have
the
any,
timing on the ambulances? I know they were like back ordered 3 years.
They should both, we expect to take delivery of both, barring any delays, between January and February of 26. So 1 year.
A year. Okay.
So that mean they kind of put a rush on the second one for us and it's ahead of schedule?
We reopened it to all the local companies, and there was a new player in the market based out of Syracuse, New York, that's trying to break into the New England region, and their timeline is way shorter than all of our other options.
Excellent.
So
The same
we-
quality and everything.
Same quality.
Okay.
New Bedford has 2 of the ambulances in use. Easton has 2 on order with them. There are several other communities that have them in use and have them on order. So I was able to kind of get my hands on it and see what the quality was and see how everything was set up. They're going to customize it the same way that we want so that our trucks are identical. They're just different companies.
Excellent.
Real quick, Chief, just curious, I know you don't have a crystal ball and short of, something unforeseen, but as far as repairs, foreseeable future, do you see anything like brakes coming up or anything like, that's
Right
regular
now,
routine repair?
Tires.
right
preventative
now it's just the
maintenance?
routine maintenance moving forward. We don't have anything coming up that should be that exorbitant.
So the extra 15 or so will cover
Should cover us
everything?
all the way. That my hope is that it covers us all the way to June 30th.
Sure.
And we don't run into anything unforeseen.
Okay, thank you.
Literally. Don't run into anything.
Well,
Chief, what's the warranty on the new engine?
the new engine it's from Ford, so I believe it's a 3-year, 36,000 mile.
So what do we do with the ambulance once the new one comes in?
So
we're
we have
using it for a year.
2 that we have on order. The goal all along was the original ambulance that we ordered when I first took over was going to be a 3rd. So that one comes in, goes front line. At that point, the older of the 2 would become a mechanical spare.
Yeah.
second ambulance that we ordered, we would then trade in that ambulance, and then what would be Rescue 2 now becomes the mechanical spare. So
So
one is
mechanic-
getting traded in, one we'll keep as a spare, so if God forbid anything like this happens again,
We've got another.
you don't
car.
have to see Rochester's ambulance sitting in our station.
Yeah,
And we've got another ambulance that has a couple more years left on its warranty at that point.
yeah.
As a mechanical spare, those can last us a few years until it becomes,
You
So
have
it's
room
not
to
like
keep it
we're
inside?
we're working on it.
So it's not like we're fixing it and we're just gonna give it up. Like
Correct.
That's, yeah, no, okay.
Just curious, Chief, where do we stand as far as runs from last year, like percentage-wise?
So in 2023, we did 1,681 calls, of which I believe like 12.
Is that fire and medical?
That was all combined, and I believe 1,280 of those were medical. The 2024, we finished with 1,689, so slightly higher, but 1,380 of those were medical, so more medicals.
Right.
And it just hasn't stopped yet in January.
You guys all doing great work, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I make a motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you,
No,
Chief.
thank you, Chief.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Chief.
Tom.
Thank you, Chief.
One day I'll come to you with better news.
That'll be a first,
Wait,
next
wait,
time it'll be
wait.
a first time.
Wait, Tom, wait, I didn't get that in recording.
I didn't
Actually,
give you a timeline, I said one day.
actually, you told us one of our ambulances is coming at least a year earlier than we expected, so that's great news.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Have a good night, Chief.
Thanks.
Bye.
Okay, next on the agenda is our town administrator, Mr. Jamie Kelly. He's gonna discuss our FY '26 budget. What we have to expect, estimates, right? Good news?
Yeah, right. We knew last year when we were pulling rabbits out of the hat that we weren't going to be able to keep pulling rabbits out of the hat. The excess overlay, for example. So I am looking at a conservative estimate for revenue of $496,713 increase. Now, if we play with the local receipts a little bit, you might get another 100,000, but that's it. For any of the large local receipt accounts, I was conservative in that my estimates are around 80% of the high numbers. We made a mistake last year when we looked at and made an estimate for the charges for services in water. We thought because of the increases in the cost from New Bedford that we could go up to about 2 million instead of 1 million, approximately 900,000. But that's not the case. Not as of right now. And we estimated in '24, 1,888,000 and change, and it actually came in 1,816,000. So that shouldn't be a problem, except everything is razor sharp close to the edge. So you can't absorb 50,000 here or 30,000 there. It's too fine. Now, I've done a first pass at the budget. And looking at mostly a 2% increase, education, approximately a 2% increase. We have a 4% increase because of the public safety contracts and the police retro, because we balance that with the overlay excess. And I'm looking at a 9% increase in 9 to 9.5% increase in insurance if we're lucky, and that'll be if the PNC insurance comes in somewhere around 6.5%, because health insurance will be 9.5 to 10%, and that's all over. There are towns that are getting hit in the Maya, which is the largest pool, at 14%
Wow.
increase right now.
9 is less than last year, wasn't it?
It was about the same. I am looking at a budget increase at the first pass of the budget at $1,252,000, and an increase in the best day of revenue at 500 and change.
So when you're looking at these increases, what factors are you taking into consideration? Contractual increases? So salary adjustments are?
Contractual increases, and the fact that the budget, when we funded the budget last year with one-time
Yeah.
revenue figures, you can't make that up in the next year unless you rely on the same revenue figures. And when you have a $400,000 increase to the salary budget of the police department because of the retro for 3 years, and we paid for that out of the overlay surplus. Now the pigeons are coming home to roost.
So you're saying that last year's budget did not, so everything that but the fiscal year 2025 salary for the police department was already under the contract, right? So that number should be in there. And then there should be a 4% increase to get to fiscal year 26.
The way I'm doing the budget,
Yeah.
I'm looking at what the original budget was for the police department salaries,
Pre-contract settlement. I
pre-contract
gotcha.
settlement.
I gotcha. Okay. Yes.
Because we paid for it with money outside of the
Right, the
budget.
retro was paid with outside, but the current year increase should have been
Inside.
inside. So I
But the
understand.
retro was around 400K.
Right, and so when you're saying you're looking at, but when we finalize the budget at town meeting, that was already included in there, right? Or was it, it should have been included.
It was a separate article.
That was a separate article for the retro, but the budget for 2025, it wasn't in there.
No.
Okay.
The amount was increased,
Yes.
but as far as using revenue to pay for it, we didn't.
Even for 25.
For 25, even for 25, it was one package.
Yeah, I got
So
you.
we paid the back and the extra for 25 out of the overlay
Yeah.
extra.
Okay,
So
So-
this year, we've got to cover the extra for 25 plus
When
26.
I start the
you're
base,
covering everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we've got
when-
2 years worth of increases.
when I cover the base now,
No, but you can build
It's-
it into the base.
Yeah,
coming out of what we need.
yeah. Yeah, so if the base increased another 2% plus 2% more this year, it's,
Yeah, but that's the
Yeah.
problem, it was never in the base to begin with. The retro was not in the base.
no, but a retro wouldn't be.
It is now, though, that's the problem.
What is it?
It is now.
It is now, yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yes.
Yeah, so
yes.
we
Not
got,
the amount we back paid, but the actual increase over those 3
yeah,
years.
the fact that that's now the new, that's,
My new norm.
yes,
Yeah, we're on the
That's
same
not-
page. I was just thinking it was
Yeah.
1 year, but it's not, it was 3.
yeah.
And we also, I have no idea what's coming in from Old Colony, but if you remember, we used 132,000. And I hope they're not using that as part of their base for this year. I've got a meeting with Mr. Polanski in 2 weeks, so we'll start our discussions there. I had a meeting with the schools the chair was at, and we gave them the same news that anything above a standard, especially since there are negotiations now with the teachers, is not going to be able to be paid for out of this budget.
Let's see how that translates when they bring their numbers to us.
Now, this is all preliminary,
Mm-hmm.
because I told on the town side, all the department heads to give me a budget that was as level funded as possible and give me only the increases that collective bargaining mandates.
That's basically what we ask every year.
Mm-hmm.
No, well, I mean,
Our departments are usually pretty good for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would.
nobody really goes over 3-4%. I mean, it's just.
Oh, I'm not
except
even
one
looking
department,
at
but-
that.
Yeah.
But I'd say close to half of the budgets are no change from last year. 2/3 of the budgets total are just collective bargaining changes, if any changes.
Public Works need anything?
Public Works was, dealing with right now, they're probably the most less scientific of the budget so far, because we've got CMAS increases, we've got some other increases coming down, we've got to look at the sewer, water.
I'm talking about equipment wise.
We haven't even got to capital expenses yet. And we'll still have to have a discussion with, as far as the Board of Selectmen, on what they're going to do, because last year we didn't replace any police cruisers. Philosophically, you shouldn't use free cash to do it, but when you're in a jam, you might have to.
What is
Yeah.
free cash?
Pardon?
500,000.
What's free cash? How much is free
It's
cash?
neither cash or free, as the joke goes. We're waiting for it to be certified. We think it's north of $1 million.
Okay, Okay, and just so we're all on the same page, because we get asked this question all the time about free cash, like, how did we get $1 million free cash? Is there a breakdown we can give the residents?
Well,
How much of that is like
how much?
returned from the, last year?
I would say a good chunk of it, I can't quantify it yet, but a good chunk of it is because we haven't been able to fill positions.
Okay,
We don't have a town accountant. We do not have an assistant accountant. We do not have an assistant treasurer collector. We have vacancies in the DPW because people don't have the people who have licenses are not applying. It's not just Acushnet. It's very many cities and towns that are facing the same issue. It's almost impossible to find a building inspector. It's almost impossible to find a certified treasurer. It's almost impossible to find a certified accountant. Even if you're going to pay them inside 128 rates.
Have we had any luck, with the discussion last year of a couple of positions being shared with other towns?
We have a shared town planner, and that seems to be working. It's tough to share finance folks because the assistant treasurer collector is also your benefits person, your payroll person. So you really need someone full-time for that. You need at least one of the two accounting positions to be full-time, if not both, depending on what you're facing.
So how do we make it with neither accounting position filled, but we should have both of them full-time?
Smoke and mirrors?
How many folks have seen me here at night?
I don't see you go home.
What, didn't we have somebody that we were splitting with, was it Freetown?
No, we hired someone and then they went to Lakeville. And,
Yeah, that's it.
and we have them, we paid them a rate, a consultant rate to help us close the books and set the tax
Just
rate.
keep things running.
Yeah.
Why is it being so difficult to get?
They're not there.
I mean, is it a pay issue? Is it a staffing? Is it?
Most
mean,
of them are all
it seems to
currently
be-
employed at the time of year.
There are, at any one time, finance positions, that's both treasury and accounting. I would say you see 15 to 20 advertised in the MMA consistently, different towns.
Yep. And of course, they probably pay more than we do.
No, not,
What's the
You said
requirements?
they're all going
What
unfulfilled.
what are we looking for?
Yeah.
we're looking for someone who can do public sector accounting.
Yeah.
And as you know, it's very different from private sector accounting.
It is, but I think just in general, people pursuing accounting degrees are down. It just is. We need a recession to get people to come out of finance and into accounting. That's what helps rebalance it. Finance,
Everybody wants
exciting,
to
you
make
make
$1
a ton
million.
of money. You make a ton of money. But then when the economy slows down, finance jobs also dry up, and that's when people shift to accounting.
Right.
Because you always need your audits, you always need tax returns, you always need consulting services for
And
that.
we just had a recession the last 4 years.
Not enough to make the.
Yeah, not enough.
Pretty bad.
Well, maybe we'll see more people go into accounting if the External Revenue Service is founded.
It's just down. I mean, we
Yeah.
do recruiting on campus, and enrollment in accounting programs are down.
Yeah.
Just is.
And the other problem is you need, one of the two positions needs to have some experience with Munis, which is the software, that financial software that's used by most towns. And if the selectmen will allow me, I'm going to be putting forth an article to ask that the chart of accounts be updated, because your chart of accounts is nowhere near normal. And to get someone plug and play from somewhere who has the typical UMass chart of accounts and Munis is difficult when they come in here, because the learning curve is somewhat steep with your chart of accounts.
Because we just set it up differently.
Oh.
And rather than fix it, we just continued using it.
And rather than combining funds or fixing funds, you just keep adding funds, adding accounts.
Didn't we do a
Probably,
big cleanup of that
if
last
you,
year?
if you have, if you have 1,000 set up, you really only use 300. But to get through all of that in the software is a royal pain.
But didn't we do a big cleanup of that last year, for the same reason you had said?
No, not a cleanup of the chart of accounts. The chart of accounts, you go in and you rewrite how you classify everything.
But we did reduce the amount of accounts that we had overall. I remember you closing and combining stuff last year.
Yeah, well, but that was for, a lot of them was for the articles. I'm talking about, you've got funds out there that shouldn't exist. I'm not as adept at explaining it as someone who deals with the Munis and the chart of accounts and setting them up. But it's like having multiple sets of books that you have to refer back to keep the current one going.
I think the other possible factor in not being able to fill some of these finance positions in municipal government is probably due to the fact that, you know, a lot of these kids that are in college in finance are smart. And when they graduate, they're probably looking at the fact that Massachusetts is now recognized as one of the most expensive states to live in the country, number 2. And they're probably going to be like, well, I'm going to get more for my money moving out of the state and living somewhere else. It's just a fact. I mean, because we have such big government in this state, and the cost of living is outrageous. So that's part of your problem as well. And I think that's a legitimate factor.
Why work when you can make money off of TikTok? It's
not wrong.
crazy. It is crazy. It
But
is crazy.
the real issue here is you've got over $1 million of potential expenses and increase, and you've got over around $500,000 in increase in revenue. So we're going to be sharpening the pencil again this year.
Well, we can't spend what we don't have.
Yep.
Right? I mean, it's the same thing every year. You know, we always have to have a tight budget all the time.
The other thing that I just think I want to call out, and I know you folks, a lot of you folks know this, but I think the general public and TV land should know it. You're looking at, in our estimates, the tax levy, including the new growth, which you do not have a lot of new growth. You have actually terrible amount of new growth. You've got about $200,000 in new growth. That's not typical of a town. But the tax levy increases about 3 to 3.5%. The revenue, you get that. So you've got an increase there. You've got an increase conservative of about 2% to figures being determined by me, my estimates conservatively, in local receipts. Where you're getting screwed is by state aid.
Mm-hmm.
State aid, if you're lucky, is 1.5% increase. Year after year after year. Some years it was down to 0.5%. So that doesn't keep up with the philosophy of 2.5%.
So what about the mass millionaires tax? That's been in effect for a couple of years. When do we see that?
Transportation and education.
Yeah, that's going
We
on.
did see it.
Some of the
It was
roads.
some of
Couple
the
of
work
years
that we
ago,
did.
this,
And
but
most of that type of revenue goes out from the state, not in funds that the towns have discretion on using. It goes out in grants, and grants are fairly restricted. It's not like they're going to triple Chapter 90 aid, which you can use on your local roads.
Mhm.
It might come out in culvert and bridge money. It might come out, but as far as the school money goes, I'm sure Kristen can answer it, but it's after Chapter 70, which you guys got a very short amount of Chapter 70. Chapter 70 came out,
It's
from
under
my
85,
estimate,
Yeah, it's actual is just under 85,000 increase.
yeah, my estimate was 24,500 above where the governor came in. So you've got to hope the legislature increases that amount, which they'll probably do, but it won't be that much.
And I don't believe the school's education saw any of the millionaire's tax yet. That all came through roads, correct?
Mhm.
I think that's what's come through so far.
But it's also going to be, from what I understand, a number of it, a good percentage of the millionaire's tax for education is going to be earmarked for certain populations.
in other words, don't expect anything,
Yeah.
is that what you're?
Not, you don't have, you don't check a lot of the boxes.
So there was a
Surprise,
significant
surprise.
bump, right, we've got the $700,000 bump that happened in '24. So,
That's an anomaly.
but, okay, that's where I guess I'm going there, right? Like, prior to '24, I don't think I ever remember that
No.
kind of increase, right?
No,
So
It
maybe,
was
it
always the minimum.
was always the,
Always the
okay,
minimum. Mhm.
all right, so that's consistent with what I remember,
Mhm.
Chris. Like, I don't remember that, so
Right.
we should not be expecting the powers that be in Boston to all of a sudden say, hey, inflation, all of that, we
Then-
gotta do another,
they're not gonna
Significant
bail you
catch-up.
out.
yeah.
They got 2.1 billion they gotta bail themselves out with right now.
Yep.
Admittedly, my estimates are conservative as far as the revenue. And especially the local receipts. To also answer your question of a while ago, part of the fact that I've got conservative estimates and local receipts perform better than my estimates, that's part of your free cash.
Yeah.
And you're not going to see the spike you saw when we changed how we handled our cash and our investments. Because we went from, you people were averaging between 20 and 35,000 a year, where, when we had the ARPA money that we threw into an account, as well as the town's money, we went up to about 500,000 in investment receipts or revenue, increase, interest in effect. Now we're averaging about 200,000.
So if I'm reading this correctly, we're looking at motor vehicles, right? Fiscal year '22, we had 1.2 million. Fiscal year '23, 1.35. Are those actuals? They're awfully round.
Those are the, they're not actuals, but they're very close.
Okay.
Because your excise, motor vehicle excise, isn't going to be a swing that much, because when people buy new cars, that's the top price of the excise tax, and then every year it goes
It comes down. Well, no, because the fiscal year estimate was 135.
That's what you based your budget on back
Right.
then, before I got here.
But then the actual for '24 was $1,740,000.
Yep.
So,
But when you look at 80%, which is what I'm looking at as far as doing my estimates, you
There's
look
your-
at 80% of $1,700,000, it's
It's
$1,400,000. And you gotta remember that 100,000 below it is also from excise tax. And that has been reserved for road repair.
And Mr. Kelly, your conservative estimates on local receipts, does that also encompass the reevaluation we got on our properties this year?
No, I'm not looking at the tax levy.
Okay.
The tax levy is, other than your new growth, it's total arithmetic. 2.5%. It's your tax rate and how much the income that comes in. The tax rate fluctuates as well as your value. But when I look at determining what the revenue is going to be, I'm bound by the 2.5%. Just so this committee knows, we will see an increase in the veterans' budget.
Saw that.
And part of that is, and in the money we get back from the state. But that is an estimate the new veterans agent and I sat down and his
He's done a really
estimate,
good job with it.
because he actually has increased participation, et cetera.
Mhm.
But there won't be many other departments that have an increase like that.
what grants has the plan, the town planner that we're sharing, have they applied for any grants? Is there anything in process?
She's got communities.
There've been a number of grants that have come in. The whole master plan pretty much is being, other than a short amount of money from a CPC, I think $25,000 maybe. Everything else is grants that have come in from the state, 100,000 for one grant, 75,000 for another, 25,000 for an earmark for Slocum Street, that to do the handicapped ramps as part of that construction project. So yeah, grants are coming in, and you folks would be probably more.
Yeah, but all those grants were before she
the
came in.
I
I think the question was, is she bringing any grants in on top of what has already been talked about, like the Slocum Street and all that other stuff? That was before she came on board.
No, the $25,000 earmark was when she first came on board.
Right, she brought in.
She's been,
I saw a meeting recently, they were talking about community streets or something.
yeah, but you have to remember, we had to fill out all the paperwork, do everything we had to do is what she was doing to make sure we got those grants for like the master plan and everything else.
Right.
It isn't like you apply for it, they give it to you, and then it shows up in your bank account. You jump through more hoops with the state than can be, and we're applying for grants all the time. We're also trying to get the transportation bond issue money that you were promised in 2014 for the Slocum Street project. I was on the phone with the new state rep's office today.
I thought that was all squared away money-wise.
You're dealing with the state. It's got to be released by about 18 different people.
I was under the impression.
But okay.
You never, until you get it in you spend it.
Right.
Because you're not allowed to put it in your bank account. You spend it, they give it to you. But you've had a transportation bond issue that started in 2014, was re-upped, I would say, 2000, maybe 20, 21. And we're still talking with Department of Transportation to have them release it.
They thought Slocum was paid for with the ARPA funds and stuff. We put the money aside for that.
That's, all of the ARPA funds
Right.
go to it. $600,000 of infrastructure from this infrastructure stabilization.
Yep.
600,000 from water reserve. And then you had an authorization to borrow 1.8 million.
Yep.
That's what we want to safeguard so we could contract to do it, but we don't want to borrow it. We want the transportation bond money that the state has been promising you for 10 years.
Okay.
Welcome to my world. There are a number of grants that are always applied for. It's just a question of keeping grant administration of what we've got as well as applying for new grants.
Mr. Kelly, when the departments come in to present their budgets to us, Kristen had emailed me today asking me this. Is there any way we can get their budget ahead of time, like prior to them coming in, so we can actually like review it before?
The selectmen are beginning to schedule the budget reviews. I'm sure as soon as they're finished with what's going on. I've been meeting with the departments since November, but as you can see, they've come in with the budgets that give me $1.2 million of increased spending, and I've got 500,000 round figures of increased revenue. So now the Board of Selectmen will have to cut to get us within that area of the revenue increase. Because I don't have any more rabbits to pull out of the hat.
If memory serves me, last year's budgets were pretty lean to begin with, so
Yeah.
there's not a lot of cut. So it's gonna be a problem.
You could be looking at layoffs.
We're already short people.
Yeah.
But you could be looking at, well, or cutting unfilled positions. Which I
Yeah, I
don't,
would think that would be the first
yeah,
option
which
to go, but still, you're losing positions.
I don't like to do, because most of your unfilled positions are
Are needed.
positions you need. You know,
We
it's,
just talked about the finance department.
yeah, or truck drivers at the DPW. But to get people with CDLs right now is almost impossible.
Oh,
You're retired.
As far as like scheduling timeline,
I've got to talk to the Board of Selectmen to see how they want to schedule it, and to see if they actually want departments that there are no changes from last year, and I mean no changes, salary or expenses. Do they even want to have them come in?
well, I'm sure there's gonna be some that are probably gonna be like that, I would imagine.
I'd say about half. So, I don't know if, or you want to just do that as a batch. If there are no changes from last year.
I would just do it as a batch, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense to do that.
But as I said, we are just starting the process.
All right, so I guess we'll wait then.
I mean, and
I'm not gonna set any dates then yet.
well, as you know, the joint expenses are 250 to 300,000 increase, but we won't get those prices until March, end of March probably. The health insurance increase, the insurance increases. I estimated the pension increase, but that has to be verified. Pension increase is about 110,000.
What were we waiting for last year? There was like this mad thing at the end, towards the end of the budget hearings, that we were waiting to hear from. Was that the state? Okay.
When's town meeting?
Sorry.
Originally, we looked at May 19th. Now it's looking like more June 2nd. Part of the issue, and we've been meeting with Patrick McIntyre from the school, Les Dakin, the moderator, Pam Labonte, the town clerk, because the school is, I would say, extremely likely coming forward with the debt exclusion for the air, HVAC, air, whatever you project. And April 22nd is the election. And you have to have a town meeting to also deal with the debt exclusion 60 days either side of the election. So we're looking at when the election is and then building out how we deal with the budget and where we have town meeting based on that.
And then there would also be, I believe, 2 public hearings regarding that debt exclusion as well.
Well, I know the school wants to have a joint meeting with the Finance Committee, the Board of Selectmen, and the school committee on the debt exclusion. I've blocked out a month, but the Board of Selectmen, I think, would want to set the town meeting date before you folks start doing your joint meetings / hearings on this. I had a tentative timeline for May 19th, but that was blown out of the water today. And
So if the town meeting has to be 60 days before or after the election and it's the 22nd, June 2nd doesn't work either. If it's 60 days before or after, or is it 30 days before or after?
no, it has to be within the 60-day window.
Oh, it has to be within, not it has to be after, gotcha.
So, yeah, so if the town meeting is June 2nd, then we have to have everything done by sometime in May, right?
Yeah,
Mid-May?
out the print on it.
Yeah, I'll forward a timeline based on the 2-week change now. Because originally it was May 19th, the timeline we prepared with all the advertising dates, et cetera, for the warrant, council review, et cetera. So we've blocked 2 weeks, but one of those weeks is the holiday. So, you know, that's an issue.
So we could theoretically probably start our hearings in March.
I think you're gonna have to do it sooner. I think it's gonna have to be February. On
We usually go.
the end of February.
January, yeah.
The end of February,
January
at least
22nd,
for
yeah.
the joint meeting
we're late.
of the school, FinCom and Board of Selectmen on this debt exclusion.
Well, you're gonna have to communicate with me and give me a heads up as far as when, you know.
Oh,
departments are gonna
I'll be
ready to
able,
go.
Monday I'll be able to forward a revised timeline.
Okay, all right, so then
I
once I
think
get
they
that.
sent the old one to you today, but then
No,
all
I
this,
I didn't get anything today.
all right.
And we can't really do anything until the Board of Selectmen sit down and start.
Well, we can't vote on it, but we
Anyway,
can
right?
discuss it, right?
Usually what we end up doing.
Yeah.
I mean, there some technology increases because of license increases.
I mean, if everybody's
like in
coming
the
back pretty much
assessors and stuff
level,
like that.
service level.
But
budget.
most of the town budgets are level.
We just have the big school issues.
When is school vacation week in February?
We're on
The third,
Second.
whatever,
that week.
yeah, the third.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, so it's
we
President's
were,
Day.
yeah, we were dancing around not only the school vacation week in February, but also the school vacation week in April.
So maybe we should start the week before school vacation week,
Yeah,
which would be the week of the 10th, the week of February 10th.
so the
So
12th.
February 12th, I think, could potentially be our first budget hearing.
That's our normal second Wednesday anyway. Fits right in.
And
So, do you want to batch all of the unchanged
yeah,
and just
just bang those out right
go
off the
through
bat.
them, but at the same time, nothing's off the table as far as cuts.
Well, if we're gonna cut something after we've already looked at it and said it's good to go, then we're not gonna have an issue with it moving forward. We may not like it, but it's not gonna cause a financial
Cuts aren't gonna be an
issue.
issue, it's the additions that
Right.
are.
So,
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at it, you've got $250,000, $300,000 just in the pension insurances. And then you got collective bargaining costs. And the real problem is you've got no income. You've got $200,000 in new growth.
Yeah, well, that's always the lingering problem that we have every year in this town, and, you know, we're gonna have to.
Well, I think the new growth was probably so lousy because the economy's been so lousy the past couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, you know, and you can hope for the best.
Among other things, yeah.
We'll see how long it takes for the,
You
Ripple
passed
down
the meals tax, and the first quarter revenue from the meals tax was just a little bit over $6,000.
yeah.
And they estimated 100.
But part of it is when you talk
For the year, not-
but you talk to folks that are in the restaurant business, they're seeing anywhere from 25 to 50% decrease in
Time to go to
revenue.
Rochelle's. He's hopping over there.
Again, that comes back to
The economy.
the economy. People don't have the extra expendable income, right? I mean, because they're spending it on an increase of 22% extra in gas. I mean, I got the notice from Eversource, an extra 35% in electricity from Eversource. I mean, it's just outrageous. I mean, when are our public officials gonna do something about the utilities in the state? I mean, it's just ridiculous. We got 2 new state reps. I hope they're gonna do their freaking job and say something to these people at the State House. I was gonna say something else, but
Maybe we get Steve to come here and talk to us.
Well,
yeah, I
I,
get both of them here.
well,
Yeah,
Costs more to deliver electricity than the electricity costs.
yeah, it's a freaking joke, right?
Rubber
They're
products,
more,
that's
they're
all you
more
have to
concerned
say.
about putting up wind turbines that are killing the whales and all this other nonsense than trying to use the resources we have that are known commodities that people rely on. It's
That's
just,
4
it's
years
just
ago.
outrageous.
We're in a new era now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Gotta get back to
but-
normalcy.
it's gonna
but
take a while to
so,
do that.
so this board knows, Rep. Sylvia has been in, his staff has been in, and he is dealing with the Department of Transportation now. He's gotten all our information for the past to try to get us that transportation bond issue. He's also come in and sat with staff and asked, in effect, what do you need to do your job? So he has been here on site doing his
How
job.
about the Mass Department of Public Utilities?
Hmm.
Somebody's gonna get to them. Somebody needs to get to them, because they're the ones that set the rates, and then the governor signs off on it. And they're not doing anything about it.
On another note, as I mentioned briefly, before the meeting, we will be coming in on approximately a $10,000 request, if the selectmen approve it, for, to replace a heating unit down at the COA.
Yeah, that's a brand new unit.
I'm just,
It's under is there a warranty?
we are,
That's what I'm just
we
asking along
will,
the question. That thing was just put in
well, there's
less than 2 years ago.
there's 3 units down there, I believe.
I'm under the impression that all of them were replaced.
Well, one of them we have a problem with. And then we also, at some point, we're also going to have to deal with the roof. A different section from the other.
See?
That I would say probably was a problem 4 or 5 years, if not longer. And
Well,
it's,
we just
and
we
it's
did
not
it.
where the flashing was needed. It's in the middle of the flat roof. That looks like
In the back.
there's a hole there. I don't know who.
I thought, what happened to the money that we got a grant for to pay for the roof?
That paid for the gutters and that other part of the roof. This is just repairs, but things are starting to happen. And I'm wondering about the workmanship maybe 7, 8 years ago.
Well, that I don't know about. But those heating units were replaced.
We'll bring the paperwork in. There are things that aren't working.
People not
Maybe
messing
they were
around with
bought-
things.
Maybe they were bought from one of the companies that left the United States to manufacture elsewhere.
Anyway,
All right, folks, the other thing I wanted to discuss tonight was liaison assignments and perhaps rotating the finance chair position going forward.
Yeah, no, thank you.
I don't think there's really much interest. That's gonna die on the floor.
All in favor? All opposed?
This sounds like the French Foreign Legion. Who's gonna
Nice
not
try.
step back?
Like I stuck that in there?
yeah, you just kind of just swept it there.
All right, well,
You can swap it between the vice chair and the chair.
we're gonna give it some thought, okay? We're gonna give it some thought.
I thought about it.
I personally think it's operating very nicely.
Don't fix it.
Yeah, exactly.
If it ain't broke,
Unlike our federal government, our current situation is great.
Are you talking about similar to the select board, or are you just talking about just like one meeting just to get everybody familiar with the flow of a meeting from the chair's position? What do you?
Oh, like a new year.
I've done the town meeting. Does that count? I mean, I'll do that.
Are you talking about like take over for a year and rotate every year, like the chair, or 6 months the chair's position?
Yeah, we can probably, yeah, whatever.
Like the board of selectmen rotate.
Similar, possibly, yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like this
He doesn't
idea.
like
I
that.
don't know, secret ballot.
Secret ballot. I just, I heard I go off on a
You're
tangent.
dying
I heard
in
I
that
go off
chair,
on
you
a
know that,
tangent
right?
Too much,
Well, then you certainly don't want me. Or Eric.
All right, so let's figure out what liaison positions we're gonna stick with, right?
I'd like to keep Old Colony,
Okay.
if that's all right.
Sue and I are
School.
still taking care of the school. Kristen, were you a
Library.
You were a library? Eric, did you have any?
I was the DPW, but if somebody wants, I'd do fire rescue, whatever everybody wants. If
I don't know
people,
if we had a liaison for fire rescue, did we?
I was, but really didn't.
yeah, DPW, I put my name out there to Dan a couple of times, but I've never really When we had a board, I
Mr.
talked to
St.
them
Jean, you
too.
wanna be like liaison to police department?
It's fine, sure.
I think that'd be a good fit for you,
Yep.
right?
Be happy to do that.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
maybe, fire EMS,
Sure.
Eric? And stick with DPW?
Yeah.
Okay. You got all that, Kathy?
Got it.
Do we,
You're gonna send notices to different departments as to liaison is, so that, and the contact information.
Kathy, you wanna
Yeah, I can do that.
take care of that? Thank you.
do we have somebody that's gonna replace for the golf fund?
That's a good question, yes.
The new member.
We don't have a golf committee liaison.
I thought they had another member. They don't have another member?
We lost.
We do.
Did somebody
Oh,
get
yeah, the
sworn
one at
in
golf fund.
recently?
No, I don't know about
They-
sworn in.
they
Someone was
appointed
appointed
two.
last night.
Somebody got
Right.
appointed
Yeah,
to
but
the
there was
finance
somebody
committee?
else,
Oh, not-
like
oh.
6, 8 months ago
Yeah.
that never showed
Right,
up.
Right.
right, there was, so, there was 2 openings, correct, on the finance committee?
Well,
One was
well,
filled, but
technically one.
but that person hasn't been present.
Right.
So we're still, but there was a new person
Last night.
appointed at the selectmen's meeting, correct?
So we're short one still.
Oh.
And then there are also people appointed to the golf, when you were talking about the golf committee, to the golf committee, so I think they're full right
golf-
now.
I think the golf committee's full and the golf facilities committee's full.
So the golf doesn't, they're all set then?
All facilities is new, I think, for the building, right?
Yes, so the golf, the official golf committee, the
Management
The
committee.
management committee is full, and then a new committee was created to look into the facilities.
I think they have, it's a short-term charge.
Mhm.
So we don't know who the person was that was appointed yesterday? Because presumably we're gonna make sure Kathy's got their email contact info, so that way they get the communications regarding meetings.
It was on the agenda. I
Yeah.
can't remember
It
what their
was,
name was, but their name was on the selectmen's
I
agenda.
believe it was Mr. Adams.
Yes, it was on the selectmen's agenda for
Okay.
Tuesday.
Well, no, you better be careful in this state. It's probably John Q. Adams.
But
I'm looking.
so how does it work with the golf committee and the finance committee? Isn't one of the positions, aren't they, Bob Ferrera's former position, that either came from the golf committee or he was on the golf
He had a
committee
voting
because he was
position on the
on
golf
the
committee too.
finance committee? So there was something that was interrelated, but I
Well,
don't
he was
know
the
exactly.
finance committee member, but he was the liaison from the finance committee to the golf committee.
And I'm not
But he was
sure.
also like a
He
regular
was also a
voting
golf
member
committee
of
member.
the members.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Yes,
I'm not
yes.
sure if that's proper. You'd have to check with
Right,
council.
that I don't know, but I know that that's how it
Right,
sort
but that-
of.
but that's
It
what
came
worked.
to be.
at this point.
Right,
It worked at
right.
that point.
Yeah, but I mean, it's.
Nobody questioned
Conversation doesn't
it,
even
Right.
happen.
but there was a question.
Don't ask, don't
on the
tell.
legality, right.
So the board's not coming.
I mean, I just don't know. I mean, Eric, did you ever do anything with the DPW last year as a liaison? Did they ever need you for anything?
Like I said, I've reached out to talk to Dan. He's not reached out to me, and like I said, when we had a board, a public works board, I reached out to them too many years ago, and I went to one of their meetings, and they never pursued anything with me. I've never gotten a call or a text or an email from.
So maybe,
I don't know where you're going with this, but
well, I don't know, I'm not saying take on another one, but I'm just, maybe there's more of a need for a liaison on the golf committee versus the DPW. Because there's more activity on the golf course.
for the time being, if you want, I'll do both. Because I don't really have anything going on. But when a new
So
member
what-
comes in,
So maybe, Kathy, what we'll do is put Eric McGlynn as DPW/golf committee.
Okay.
Because there's probably not gonna be a lot of activity going on with DPW.
yeah,
But there'll probably be more involvement with golf.
The golf committee has always been a pretty time-consuming assignment from the finance committee. So
Yes, and,
probably be a little more active with the golf committee than.
Yeah, it's gonna be very busy over the next 2 years.
yeah, because, I mean, there's gonna be a lot of happenings with that too, because once that note gets paid off, and they have this new committee formed, as far as, they're gonna put up a new structure to get some kind of a clubhouse going over there. I think it's gonna be important to have a finance committee member, as a liaison over there.
I think you're a perfect fit for that position.
Do you golf?
I do not.
Even better.
You're gonna start
That's
golfing.
even better.
Yeah, it really is
No
probably
vested
even better.
interest in it.
Yeah, it's
exactly.
even better.
Unbiased.
I don't know when this meeting turned so quickly.
Listen, if I remember correctly, you did say, I'll do whatever you guys need.
Yeah, see, you.
You turned down the finance chair position, so you can't get out of everything, right?
New members should show up next
The new
meeting.
member should.
I just looked it up, the new member's name is Phillips Adams, according to the selectmen's agenda.
Okay. So I'll have to
Comments,
get his
comments
contact.
held.
I'll have to get his contact information somehow, so I
Phil, if you're
can.
watching,
Yeah. So our next, next on the agenda. Does anybody have any old business to discuss? Any new business? All right. So we already covered the next meeting date, which is going to be February 12th.
Do you want one before that to set the timelines and everything up? And have us report back about the timeline? Because,
Do we need a meeting to set a timeline?
like, if you want the 29th, I'm just saying to take care of all of the housekeeping, a quick meeting, because we should have the timelines set, and we should know the dates from council and everything. Because also, remember, with the debt exclusion, you're going to have the language that has to go through school council, town council, bond council, and then you guys have to have your hearings on it.
All right. So then February 5th.
So, I think discussing a
So that's-
timeline
so that's 2
maybe
weeks.
in a week or two is really important for
February 5th.
everybody to be on the same page, because it's almost like you've got to coordinate the agendas of the school committee, the FinCom, and the Board of Selectmen to get off all of this, the legalities taken care of.
So then on the 12th, we're gonna more than likely go through a lot of the easy, no change budgets, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm good at the moment.
So we're gonna set it for the 12th,
February 5th,
5th.
yes, to establish like a timeline.
Because when we were looking at it, there are going to be a lot of hands in this pot stirring it as we go forward to do the debt exclusion.
And Pete, we're not expecting
And the
dinner or
town
anything that
meeting.
night either, so, okay, I just wanted
There's
to.
a few
throw that out
complex
there.
issues that
Yeah.
need
Listen,
to
I
be
didn't make
solved.
cookies
You just
today.
dropped
I just dropped them.
You just dropped the hint.
All right, I think we covered everything.
Hey, wake up.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.